Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Hispanic Patriot Podcast, a weekly podcast broadcast live from a secret, undisclosed location here in the heart of the great state of Colorado. My name is Nickolas Razo, and without further ado, we present to you all our fearless patron, Hugo Chavez Ray. Give it up for the Hispanic Patriots, everybody.
All right, folks, we had some technical issues, and so we're a little bit behind on the start time, but this is Podcast Nation. So I know you guys will understand. This is great, and today we have a little special event going on since my co-host Nickolas is actually the target of the interview. So we're going to launch right into it since we're behind schedule, but we will do the entire interview. And if we run over the top of the hour, so what? All
Exactly
right.
right.
So, what we've got tonight, I know there's a lot of things going on, and I just wanted to mention the State of the Union address last night, and it was a killer. I think all the pundits are talking about it, and they're saying this is one of, if not the best, State of the Union address ever delivered by a president. And it's such a it was such a pleasure to watch it. Really, I mean, I was glued to the TV. Some people were saying it was long, but it kept me, glued to the screen the whole time. The president did a good job of talking about the Trump administration agenda, what's been going on, what's been accomplished, and what needs to be accomplished. So he delivered on all the points, and he managed to, of course, with their help, embarrass the Democrats on national and worldwide TV because they were just, I don't know what word to use, pathetic. I don't know. I'm
My
trying to be
favorite word here,
nice.
I think, would be apoplectic.
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 There you go. But uh, but yeah, if you watched it, you saw the Democrats on full display, and they just gave every Republican candidate in this midterm election a great a great video to post on their every campaign should use what took place last night in the State of the Union address to show the American people what exactly the Democrats are made of. And I'm just ecstatic. The the impact I've listened to several programs, and the impact of the address has given the Trump administration a boost, has changed the polls, and people are now in tune for the midterms. So um, I'm excited because I think it's the best of all worlds with results from the State of the Union address. If you haven't watched it, I encourage you to go and look at it on YouTube or wherever you might be able to access it. But it was a great address, and the president knocked it out of the park, in my opinion. So we won't get too much into details on that. Maybe next week we'll cover some more and talk about some of the other details. But without further ado, I want to introduce the newest candidate for state senate in District 11, which is in Colorado Springs. My young co-host and protege, Nickolas Razo from the great state of Illinois.
Once great state of Illinois.
Once great state of Chicago, Chicago.
Oh yeah, sweet home Chicago. Much more sour these days, unfortunately. But that's
That
what
title in
that's what
town.
happens. Well, that's what happens when machines take over your city and your state. And so
Yep.
we have a lot of experience with that. And I like to say, we know what to do. We know what to do to combat this stuff.
Yep.
We'll be getting right
So
into it.
I'm going to introduce you properly with a bio for Nickolas Razo. Nickolas is an equestrian and political veteran with over 15 years of experience, born under the Chicago machine. He had the good fortune to grow up with a generation of young conservatives who formed the foundation of his life in politics, including the great and forever remembered Charlie Tiberius Kirk. As a founding member of Turning Point USA, he worked on the campaigns of Congressional Robert Dole and Senator Mark Kirk, Governor Bruce Rauner, as well as judges and state house representatives. So Nick's family's business has been thoroughbred horse racing for over 3 generations, working in the stables of his family ranch since the age of eight. Uh, since moving to Colorado with his wife of 8 years, Alyssa, he has dedicated his life to seeing this great state restored to its former glory and its people free from fiscal insanity, social engineering, and oppressive government control. Across Nickolas's life, he has had many careers and jobs, from horseman to campaign intern, field hand to field coordinator, a manager of gas stations and investment portfolios alike. Nickolas has worked everywhere from Walmart to Bank of America, in construction, and with his wife in mental health care, and of course, now a podcaster. In his spare time, with numerous organizations, he assists American volunteers and war fighters in procuring non lethal and advocates for the religious liberties of Christians worldwide and promotes mental health causes, including protecting the innocence of children and the prevention of youth suicide. Today, he is a proud El Paso County bonus member at the state GOP, Colorado Hispanic Republicans regional governor for Colorado Springs, vice chair of House District 17, and co-host of the Hispanic Patriot Post podcast. He works today as a general contractor and paralegal advocate, specializing in housing and immigration assistance. Now, are you still on the board of CHR?
Indeed.
Okay, so that's
As you know,
another one. That's
as you know,
Colorado
oh, very
Hispanic
cool.
Republicans. He serves on the board there. That's where I served as chairman for 10 years. So that's quite a resume. I've known you now for what, going on 2.5, 3 years.
More than that, a little bit, but
we,
absolutely.
we met surreptitiously on social media, and at one point we were at odd ends of the spectrum, but we quickly realized that we were more alike than not.
It's
So
very true. And Hugo, I want to say is I think that our friendship is a really big symbol of unity in the party. Just again, we're the boomer and the millennial.
absolutely, yes, and I'm proud to have you as a co-host, and even prouder to see you running for elected office. So, without further ado, I'm not going to sugarcoat this because we want to show no partiality. I just want to do a regular interview with you so that the people can get to know you and what your agenda is for this office.
I would expect
So,
nothing less from you, Hugo.
as we spoke, Nickolas is running for Senate District 11 down in the Springs. And as we get started, I want to know, I know you've already told me, but I want the audience to know, why are you running for the Colorado State Senate in District 11, and why should voters trust you with this office now?
Well, the historical example that I want to bring to everyone's attention is that of a position we no longer have in our republic. It was in the old Roman Republic, which is tribune of the plebes. And I think that in the Senate, there's a rather strong impression that this is a place for wealthy people, for people of greater power than in the House. But the fact of the matter is, ever since the Senate is has become popularly elected, these two houses are really more about representation on the levels of your position in the party, in the state, and your skills and abilities. So it was a very strong belief of mine that the Senate required somebody from the American working class, from a perspective which is not often found in the Senate, which is that of the common American people. So, as we said before, I've worked all kinds of jobs, and I've learned about what the American people go through on every every class level. And what I've learned is that every American class level is important. We need more integrity as a value in this country and in this state, most especially, because I think you might agree, Hugo. Our divisions in Colorado go beyond populist and grassroots and establishment. It goes beyond rich and poor. There is so many divisions in this state, and my desire is to give a rather underrepresented district. Senate District 11, you see, is not the wealthiest place. It really isn't. It's becoming dilapidated. It is often the working people who live there, and they've often been forgotten under Democrat leadership. So what I'm hoping to do is bring that working class perspective straight to the Senate with the abilities that I have of relentless advocacy to make sure the American people are not forgotten in this district, as they have been for far too long.
Okay. So, as a follow up, what specifically separates this race from a typical partisan contest?
Well, I think that the thing that separates this race is the fact that it has so much potential to become something that the nation can look upon with hope. Young men across this country, and young women too, it should be said, are losing hope. They have never seen one of their own succeed in darn near anything, not just politics. So, what we're hoping to do is really rally across the country young men and women who have been forgotten by our system, but whose potential cannot possibly be lost if we want a future. And that is what we plan to do: is bring national attention to not only this race but to Colorado.
That's correct, and I'm seeing, we're both seeing a an uprising, if you will, a movement of younger Republicans, conservatives, stepping up to the plate, and that to me that's exciting. Because
Absolutely.
I'm on my way out, but I still
Not too
contribute.
soon, we hope.
I mean, in the sense of, being at the forefront of everything. I'm trying to contribute, my past experiences and history, but I'm excited to see younger folks getting involved, like yourself. And so, what I want to know is, what do you think from? Let's talk a little bit about your district, okay? Because I want the people to understand your district. How do you see your district, and what problem do you believe voters are most frustrated with in your district right now?
Well, the most important thing to remember about my district and why it is often so forgotten is because the politicians, the political class, can't squeeze donations and tax money out of this district because it is not wealthy and it is really under siege by crime, by business killing regulations, which is why you see so many empty and dilapidated storefronts. And this crime is affecting young families because this district actually contains, it's about 20% or more, depending on how you read the census, Hispanics. And it is a heavily, I wouldn't say completely heavily minority area, but it is heavily influenced by Hispanic people, by business owners who feel squeezed, especially the industrial and warehouse areas in the South. I think this district, most of all, has the ability to become a hub of production in Colorado Springs. It does not need to be forgotten. So, one of the things that I most will be at the forefront of is wages and jobs, because we could talk about affordable housing, Hugo. We could talk about access to credit. We could talk about printing more money. But until money is in the hands and pockets of the common American, they cannot afford houses. They cannot afford cars. The economy will grind to a halt if we do not provide jobs and provide income, higher income, lower taxes, etc., to the common American worker. This is how economies have worked throughout time, and let's be honest, the political class knows that, and their interest is not to improve the incomes of the American people, it's to improve the income going into their pockets. And we're not going to let that happen anymore.
Correct. And in the State of the Union speech, and in reports that have been coming out here in the last few days, it has been said that the the United States is at its highest employment level in history, thanks to the president and his agenda. Now, unfortunately, we live in a state that is controlled by radical leftists who are more concerned about social engineering and other topics than they are about taking care of the people and making sure that the people can have a opportunity to have a good job, create a business, whatever it is that they desire to do. That's the American dream. The American dream means if I'm an American, I get to decide what I want to do, when I want to do it, and the government should get out of the way. But
Exactly right.
unfortunately, this state is not like that. So we see different numbers here within this state. Now, nationally, we are seeing great numbers, and I hope that that infects this state real soon. The only way we're going to do that is if the people speak up and tell this legislature, this what I call runaway legislature, that they need to get out of the way and stop hindering the progress of the people, the small business owners, and uh, the big corporations that could be doing business here. We just got through losing one of the biggest uh, to the state of Florida, and thank you, Governor Polis, and thank you, state legislature. But people are going to see and feel the effects of that real soon, not only in jobs that exited the state.
But unfortunately, jobs that we'll never see and that many young people won't be able to achieve. It's very sad. It's very sad indeed.
Yes, it is. So let's move on to kind of a segue to what I was saying is how do you define government overreach and where do you believe Colorado has crossed that line?
I would say there are three things, and this is what my father taught me a long time ago, and my mother reiterated many times. There are three things you never mess with when it comes to other people. You never mess with their food, you never mess with their money, and you never mess with their children and their family. And let's be honest, Colorado, the state government, has decided that these three are going to be exactly where they target their own constituents. Our food is not being grown because our water rights have been completely misused. We're selling off our water. We cannot provide it to our agriculture. This is driving up food prices, not only locally, but across the country, not just in Colorado, but elsewhere, as we are dumping our water into the ocean, as we're selling it to Mexico and other countries. Money. The state government has decided that they will fund their budget shortfalls on the backs of the Colorado people. And it must be said that there was so much on small businesses in this last session. We talked about it on the show many times before. Hispanics, as a group, found more small businesses in this state than any other single group. So it could be said that the state government has decided to, in part, pay for their budget shortfalls on the backs of Hispanic families and business owners. That's completely unacceptable. For any group of American, it's completely unacceptable. And their children. The idea that the government knows what your children's gender is better than you do. The idea that you're not allowed to import your culture onto your children. It's one of the things that makes a country, the idea that we can pass down our language and our heritage and our culture to our children. If we're not allowed to do that, then what culture are we allowed to have? Are we allowed to have any culture? And according to not me, but UN definitions, that is a definition of genocide. And we have to ask the question, is state governments and the federal government really comfortable committing cultural genocide against the American people and our own culture? I say no. I think that's a massive overreach. It gives no benefit to us whatsoever. And the question has to be asked, who is it benefiting? I don't really care who it's benefiting. I want it to stop. I'm going to make it stop.
All right, before we move too much further along, I wanted to let the audience know that they can submit live questions on our chat. It's right there on your screen. If you want to participate and if you have a specific question you'd like to see asked, please put it into the chat, and we will accommodate you as we are able to. Also, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to our channel. And if you feel so moved, please, up on the upper corner of our screen, you'll see a QR code where you can donate and help the show progress. So, but every like that you put in helps others see the show. So, please. Now, um, if if you believe the balance of power in Colorado state government shifted too far toward the executive branch, which powers should the legislature reclaim?
I think a huge, not just power, but duty of the legislature that presently we are not doing is advocacy. My very strong belief is in relentless advocacy, tireless advocacy. You, as a state senator or a House representative, city council member, or any other position, has a weight of the bully pulpit behind you. If one of your constituents walks into a place of importance, some place that decides things for the American and Colorado people, they will often never be listened to because they're nobody to the institutions of power. But if the people have their representation behind them to say, you will not ignore my people, you will not ignore my constituents, they won't be ignored. Because people ignore the common man every day in positions of power. They have trouble ignoring people in power and authority, whether that's right or wrong. And there's tons of arguments, some historical, some biblical. But there is an argument to be said for the bully pulpit. And I feel that this is some place the legislators, the representation is not taking advantage of. Nowhere near enough. We need to be active in our communities. And you might say that is not a branch of government. You're right, it is not. But people make up every branch of government. And I'll be honest about something. I am very concerned about the antisocial nature that we currently have in society, where we can't communicate as groups of people, where everything has to be done with threats or with positions of power that is abused. I think we need to go back to a social government, one in which the representation has direct links to the people. And if they don't have those links, I would suggest the people find representation that does. Representation that is willing to go out to every part of your district, no matter how dangerous, no matter how difficult. And I promise I will be in those difficult and dangerous places in my district. Because it's our district. We should feel home at every place where we represent in the state. And I believe the representation of the state, when it gets to that point, we will have a state worth fighting for again. We already have a state worth fighting for now. But it
All
will
right.
be a state worth fighting for ever, for the future, for everything we care about.
So let me ask you this: it's still early in your campaign, but what have you had an opportunity to get out into the district and speak directly to some of the voters? And if so, what have you what have you learned from those interactions?
Oh, no, this is going to be fun. I'll start off with the most fun, which is the furthest away from our party. I attended an event at Citadel Mall for the League of Women Voters. And this was mostly left wing people. This was mostly people who do not share our views, although there were Republicans there. And shout out to everyone who was there. Particularly, someone who was there was Vicky Tompkins and Lindsay Moore. So shout out to both of you, as well as Steve Schleicher, who was very popular with his work as clerk and recorder. And what we discovered at this event was that young Democrats hate their leadership. They just hate their leadership. They don't like my opponent, Thomas Exum. They don't like Jared Polis in a lot of ways. They're tired of their old leadership. They're tired of their outdated views. They're tired of the disrespect. And so what I discovered is that young Democrats and independents will vote for somebody who is like them, even if that person who's like them is from a different political party. They understand that there is a yin and yang that needs to exist in this state, that we want a state that has representation between Democrats and Republicans, because otherwise we'll get another Chicago. And you know what's funny about Chicago, Hugo? Democrats aren't even happy in Chicago. Democrats don't like getting
Oh
robbed.
yeah,
Democrats don't like higher taxes.
we've seen that in this
They thought
last.
on themselves.
Yeah, we've definitely seen that in this last cycle where there was a group of black citizens who put together a movement, if you will, and basically told the Chicago city government where they could go with their agenda because they said, I forget what they call it, red something or other, and they were attending city council meetings, and they're out there campaigning now for Republicans because of what the Democrats have done to that city. Now, in contrast, or not in contrast, but along those same lines, here in Colorado, we've been under a single party rule now for going on several cycles, and I think we can all see what the effects of that is. What
Well,
they're
we absolutely
constantly,
can. We absolutely can. And I think that one of the effects that we're seeing is Democrat burnout on the Democrat Party. I've often made this joke is that if there was no Democrats, there would still be a Democrat Party. But if there was no Republican Party, there'd be way more Republicans. Because the left really, there were so many on the left, especially the young left. What I found surprising is that the more socially Democrat, those kind of folks, the more that was their persuasion, the more that they were actually receptive to Republican arguments, especially populist arguments. I think populism right now is an amazing political technology that allows us to reach across the aisle without compromising ourselves. We've been searching for this as Republicans for so many decades, and yet President Trump has offered it on a silver platter. Is the American nationalist perspective, the populist perspective. These are no longer dirty words. And what's funny, they have never been dirty words south of the border. I have been to many Mexican restaurants, including also Mexican stores, little carniceritas and other places. And these are places who are very clued in to what's going on in the state. They are connected with places like the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. They are connected with their local communities, and they see what's going on. They see that their children are under attack. They see that their culture is not respected, and that their fellow Americans, whether they be white Americans, Asian Americans, or whatever have you, black Americans, every type of American, their culture is being repressed and attacked. And so these people are looking for strong leadership, deliberately strong leadership that won't take no for an answer. And that is what I absolutely promise to provide. The last event I'll say, which was, of course, we talk about the people, and the people are paramount. The people are paramount. But we also need someone who could talk to the rich donors. We need to still talk to everyone, and that includes the rich. We reject class warfare in this party. We reject class warfare in this campaign. We believe in solidarity between all Americans. And so I was very fortunate to be able to attend a event for the Senate Majority Fund, meet the other state senators who are hopefully will be my colleagues with your all kind support. And they are searching for a strategy that will work. We are here to provide it for them, and we will
okay.
win.
All right, we have one. We have our first question from one of the listeners, and I think it's a good one for you. It's they're asking, how can we donate to your campaign? So, do you have a
Perfect.
website? Do you have a
Yes. Yes,
what
we
is
do. That'll be rallyforrazo.com, and we will provide that in the link when the video goes live on our channel.
what? Repeat that again.
Rallyforrazo.com. In fact, this might
RazoForColorado.com.
be, yes,
Okay.
we got there. Actually, the business card will probably not work in the light, but we will have a picture as a community post on the YouTube channel.
Okay. I just put it up on the chat, and we'll definitely make sure that it's available on the videos once we edit them and post them to our 4 platforms. So be on the
Absolutely.
lookout for that. But thank you for that question and for your support, listener.
Yes, thank you. And anybody interested, I'll have our phone number available, all of the information. And we encourage everybody to call, talk with us, email us. We'll have our phone, email, and website. Uh, and we really look forward to hearing from all of you. As I like to say, I am an open book. Granted, the book's in Spanish and half the pages have been ripped out, but I am an open book.
There you go. Well, it's famous. It's been famously quoted that Mike Tyson once said that everyone has a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
It's actually
So,
von Moltke of the German army actually said the same thing. Is like plans never survive first contact with the enemy.
yeah. So, along those lines, what is your strategy for controlling state spending without cutting essential services? Because that's something that's on the forefront of a lot of people's minds. They want an efficient and fiscally responsible government, which for all
We
intents and
don't have right
purposes
now.
we do not have right now because the Democrats are busy trying to take away guns, and transition children, and take rights away from parents. Those are their priorities. They have no gumption about what they're about, and I hope they keep on down that road because I think the people have had it. And last night in the State of the Union, that was asked, and the president wants the Congress to ban all transitioning of minors against their will, and and the rights of parents being protected because of what's going on in a lot of places where in some cases they're taking these children and transitioning them without any parental consent, and their position is parents have no rights, the kids belong to the state. So that's ridiculous.
It
um,
is, and as a person of Polish descent, my mother's maiden name is Filipowski. We know what it's like when you are owned by the state, when your children are owned by the state. We fought that war. We won that war. The war was won in the 1990s when the Berlin Wall and the Soviet Union came down. And I say very equivocally, we are never going back to that.
okay, so give us a little bit about. I know you've had some time, but and again, it's early in your campaign, but the people are going to want to know these
Oh, please.
questions. So, uh, do you support strengthening Tabor or other spending limits? Why or why not?
No, 100%. I mean, being from a state which would never allow Tabor in a million years. We have to understand something. Tabor is a massive draw for people to come to Colorado and stay here, especially stay here. I know so many people that would leave this state if Tabor was repealed.
Well,
Period.
one quick point because I do
Yes.
want to. Not everybody knows what Tabor is, so
Ah, yes,
it's
of
the
course.
Taxpayer Bill of Rights, folks. That's in Colorado. That's
You're
the
going to want to
one.
learn about that. It's a very,
Yeah.
very good, very, very good thing that we have. It's
Continue
a
on.
constitutional. Of course, of course. Thank you, Hugo. No, it is a part of our constitution, and it needs to be further enshrined as strongly as possible. I would want to make it so that the Democrats or any political party could never take this right away from Colorado taxpayers because they are so reliant on it. We are so reliant on it. There is simply nothing like it, to be honest. And I wish we could see it across the country. The idea that if the government doesn't spend your money by the end of the year, they have to give it back to you. That is just a radically responsible policy. And
Well,
I encourage those to look up the history of how this happened because it's a wonderful story. Persistence, folks, persistence.
I can say with total certainty that were it not for Tabor, um, which is the main stopgap against just basically totally radical spending for the Democrats. Were it not for Tabor, we would be bankrupt already. In
Yes.
fact, we really are already bankrupt. There's would they say, a $12 billion shortfall, um, and uh, and then in Denver here, we had the mayor come out and say that they were in a $1 or $2 billion shortfall, and he spent over 500 million on illegals in this city.
Well, we know where some of that money went to then, and it should be said, I truly believe that our powers that be have really no interest in creating economic value. You know, whether you believe in Keynesian economics, the Chicago School of Economics, Austrian economics, like I'm partial to, it all revolves around a single point that anything the government does must create economic value for the people. This is why, for example, foreign wars are not profitable for our people because wars only destroy. They don't produce productive equipment. It doesn't produce productive economic value. If you look at social engineering, if you look at the things they're trying to change in our country, there is no economic value to it. You know, it's funny. Well, it's not funny at all. It's tragic that while the poor are often used for revolution, it is often the rich who control them. We saw this in the French Revolution. We saw this in other terrible revolutions. Our revolution had an immeasurable amount of integrity between social classes, and it's what made it different.
Yep.
But when you look at our present time and the present very uber wealthy, like those at Davos and other places where globalists congregate, these people have a measurable amount of money for themselves, but they're not creating value. They're not creating anything which the people can use to improve their lives. I think this is intentional. I think if you look at their motivations, you look at what they're doing, it is intentional. They're not interested in creating economic value. And so we have two choices. Either we can complain about it, which we do, we can inform our neighbors about it, which we do. But when it comes to action, because Hugo, I think you'll agree with me, politicians are people who have been taught just to talk endlessly, in fact. They don't actually know how to take action. Our campaign knows how to take action because we've been taking action in politics for over 15 years. Our generation in Chicago, we took action by founding Turning Point USA and creating a national movement against fiscal insanity, against economic systems, which was all about destroying productive value and socially engineering us. Our alternative is clear. If the government does anything, if we allow the government to do anything, it must prove that the resources it spends will be outstripped by the benefit it will provide to the people. I think this should be demanded, and I think that Democrats should support it. Because if Democrats openly do not support proving the productive value, showing the receipts of their policies, perhaps we could say for certain they have no confidence in their policies and they should allow us to carry out ours.
Okay. Now, do you support? This is a question that goes to small businesses because small businesses are the lifeblood of the economy,
They absolutely
and
are.
and in Hispanic culture, there is no other demographic that starts businesses at a faster rate. Why? Because they're very entrepreneurial. So this question goes to that issue. Do you support reducing regulatory burdens on small businesses? And if so, which ones?
Absolutely. 100% and unequivocally. And the two industries that I most have in mind are the gun dealers, the gun industry, and oil and gas. We have such immeasurable oil and gas in this state. People don't often think of Colorado as an oil and gas state, and yet they should. And yet the whole nation should. They don't because right now, and we've talked about it on the show many times, there are essentially what we can only call economic cartels which purposefully keep the oil and its control within a small group of people who profit immeasurably from it and who profit from Republican defeats. Because that means that they and their friends, uniparty, whatever you want to call them, economic, monetary interests work together to keep Colorado oil under the ground and under control rather than unleashed and working for Colorado citizens. So one of the first industries we're going to look at opening up and unleashing is the oil and gas industry. We have a lot of allies in this fight, and we hope to bring millions, with an M, millions of dollars in investment and support to Colorado by making sure that the candidates that we put forward are 100% unequivocally for relentlessly working to unburden the oil and gas industry. And I don't have to tell you what that would do for our transport costs, for every one of the costs that we all are burdened by. The
Okay.
second one I think is gun dealers and gun rights, because if we often talk about gun rights at the point of the individual when they've already bought the gun. I think that a good strategy, in addition to what we already have, is to make sure that at the end of arming the people, at the end of sales, at the end of background checks, all of this involving the gun dealers, I think is the smart place to start, because these are people whose lifeblood is in these weapons. These people feed their families by selling weapons, by arming the people of America and Colorado. I think that should be turned into a noble and honored profession. And I think that when we organize the gun dealers and gun salespeople of Colorado and of America, not just the gun owners, we'll not just have firepower, if you will, behind us. We'll also have the money to fight the big lobbyists who want guns out of your hands so that they can control you better. We're not going to let that control happen anymore.
Well, those are two um, very important industries. A little segue to that. Prior to the Democrats taking over, energy was employing close to 100,000 Hispanics here in this state. When the Democrats took over, several of the big oil companies packed up and left because of the overburdening regulations and basically restrictive policies that the Democrats put forth. And the governor had the gall to get on a state of the state speech and say that he cared about the energy industry. There is nothing from the left that cares about the energy industry. It would
Perhaps he
be,
only meant the windmills.
yeah, it would be very, uh, it would do them proud to see fossil fuels go away, which is absolutely the dumbest thing anybody could say right now, because they don't
Yes.
even know what they're talking about when they say that.
But
So
especially when oil and gas and coal has been cleaner than ever before.
it is, and we have big coal plants here, and we've got plenty of energy in this state that should be getting explored. But thanks to Democrat policies, we lost a lot of our energy industry in this state, and with it went billions and billions of dollars of tax dollars. So uh, the Democrats kind of shot themselves in the foot. They cry about not having enough of a budget, and yet they ran out one of the top producers of tax revenue in the state. So it makes absolutely no sense. Now,
No,
with
it does not.
regards to the gun shops, the Democrats basically ran out, if I'm not mistaken, don't hold me to this number, but over 1,200 small gun dealers either shut down their doors or left the state thanks to Democrat
It's very
policies in the
sad.
last. So, you know, again, they're they're wrecking small businesses, and most of your gun shops are small businesses. They're either family owned or individuals that run small enterprises. So there's your classic small business, and overregulation and, in my opinion, unconstitutional regulations ran out a lot of those small gun dealers around the
Yes.
state. So these are the things that I think a good representative and or senator should be fighting back against. Now, let's roll into education and local control, because this is a big one for me. The How can the legislature protect local control in education from state level overreach? And we've seen that in a variety of ways over the last 3 to 5 years. They just keep on. They want control up here. We want control at the local level. So, how can the legislature protect local control in education, in your opinion?
Well, Hugo, I'm really happy for this question because our campaign, in addition to making sure that statewide we have principled Republicans getting elected, we also are starting a number of organizations and supporting a number of organizations that deal with any number of things, whether it's arts and culture, whether it's employment and making sure that jobs are filled from the illegal labor which was removed from our country. One of the biggest issues we have is mental health care because I'm going to be honest, our what we are doing to our schools and our children is directly affecting mental health care. And while this is a tragedy, we can in fact use it to defend our children. Because if we provide HIPAA supported, if we provide DSM-5 information, which is the essentially the Bible of psychology, this is a document which openly states what is and is not a mental illness. If we can provide our schools, especially charter schools, those receptive and those supportive of patriotic education, of supporting children in their culture and religion, not repressing it, if we can help these schools protect themselves from the agendas that are being shoved down their throat, then they will have the bureaucratic and administrative shields necessary when the left and their apparatuses come to try to force them against their morals, against their culture. They will be able to say, through the legislation, through whatever we need to do to protect them, they will be able to hold that up and say, we have done our due diligence to protect the mental health care of our children, to make sure that they grow up in an unbiased, culturally patriotic and American environment which supports them and who they are. If we can provide that shield to these schools, they will continue to explode. As we know, charter schools are ever more popular. I think that the biggest thing we could do is implementing a real and significant school choice system. And I would want the money, whether it's state, federal, or whatever have you, to be attached to the children rather than directly going to educational institutions who may not use that money fully for the benefit of the children. This has been a long-standing talking point, not just in the Republican Party, but with libertarians, that we want money to go to people, not to institutions. So school choice is a huge part of what I will be supporting and pushing, as well as bureaucratic and administrative defenses based around science, not ideology.
All right. We are interviewing Republican candidate Nickolas Razo for Senate District 11 in Colorado Springs. If that's your district, go look up this young man and talk to him and get him some support, because I believe, from what I've seen, it's a winnable seat.
It is.
And Nick is new to the political realm in the sense of political office, but I think it's time for some new blood. Um,
Absolutely. And new blood with experience, because I want to say, once again, growing up with people like Charlie Kirk and the beginning of Turning Point USA, we've seen the beginning of this story. We need your help to close the chapter and open up a new one for Colorado and the United States.
right, and so I want to segue into something that's been near and dear to my heart for the last quarter century. Here in Colorado, there is a huge block of Hispanic voters who are not engaged. They are eligible voters, but they're either not registered or they're not voting. So, what will you do to go into your district and try to identify those voters and get them registered and get them at least to vote? Not everybody is an activist, okay? We recognize
It's
that.
true.
But everybody can vote and everybody should vote. So I think it's a travesty that the Republican Party here in this state has not made more of an effort to do that. But I'm encouraging you, as a candidate in a district with a pretty high Hispanic population, to go out and speak to them about their duty to vote. And if they don't vote, then, the old saying is, if you don't vote, you can't gripe. And I think if you put it to them politely that way and let them know that they can make a difference, that's what I think will make a difference in that district. So along those lines, what is your game plan to go out and help identify those voters in your district and, talk to them about their needs, about what they want done, and not to preach to them, but to have them tell you how you can best represent them?
Hugo, this is probably going to be my favorite question because we are so excited with our plan to win this district. And Hispanics are absolutely a huge part of that. Of course, as you know, we are a faithful people. Hispanics congregate around their churches. And so the Supreme Court allowing churches to exercise their political rights and the use of church voter guides and community based, get out to the polls sort of work. This is so possible. It's so significant in this district and with our community. So we will be going full steam ahead, working with those already who are producing church voter guides, getting them to our churches, to our Catholic churches, to our Christian churches. We are so unified as Christians in Colorado Springs. No matter what denomination you are, we are working together, and we're going to continue that. We also have a number of other groups that we are targeting, including libertarians and young people. We have many connections with the Black community. Being from Chicago, the Black community is actually one of my favorites to interact with. The Asian community, there are so many Korean and Vietnamese Americans who know what communism is, who knew exactly what they were fighting for. Some who have lost their country and others who have valiantly kept it. One big group also that nobody thinks about in Colorado Springs, because I can say we are insular because not only is we are Hispanic and Polish, but also my family is part German. Ich spreche Deutsch, and there are a number of Germans who are in Colorado Springs. In fact, there are thousands of them, and many of them are very connected. But again, they're isolated. We will be bringing all of these voters, young people, libertarians, Hispanics, Germans, Asians, the Black community. All of them will be together with us because we are recognizing them where they are. This is not about pandering. This is about remembering that each individual group of Americans is special and that we want to make sure that their issues and their culture is being heard. We will be going to places where no other candidates will go. And we have already identified the numbers. We've already identified the data. And folks, I can promise, if I am elected, the chance to win Senate District 11 would never be higher. We are going full steam ahead, and we are not forgetting a single American on the way.
Can I help you change one little word in your phrase?
Of course, of course.
Not if you're elected, when you're elected.
There it is, Hugo. I appreciate that confidence, my friend.
Okay, now let's test your German a little bit. I know one phrase in German very
All
well.
right.
Okay? Rufen Sie einen Krankenwagen.
So you're going to need an ambulance, huh? Sehr krank.
Before I went to Germany in 2003, I was boning up on some German, and that phrase stuck with me for some reason, and I played it to a guy at the restaurant, and he looked at me like, "You're kidding, right?"
No, well, you know what? I'll bring one quick thing in German. I'll be very quick, I promise. The name of our country, actually, our country was founded by God, and I truly believe that. Amerigo Vespucci. We often think, Amerigo. Amerigo is a very strange Italian name because it comes from a German name. Amerigo is actually Amalrich. Amalrich. Very old German name. You never hear it anymore. But it consists of three words: Amal and Rich. I'm not going to do the whole etymology, but basically what it means is home of the brave rulers. That is what that name means in German. So it's interesting that God sent Columbus to discover and Amerigo to name. We are meant to be the land of the brave heroes. We're meant to
There you
be.
go.
I mentioned the Roman Republic, and I'll at the beginning. I'll mention it here at the end that we are meant to be like that republic. It was founded by heroes and legends. The Rome was supposedly founded by the Trojans, and all of these kings of the hills, and so many things, and so many people. America is like that. America was built by legends and it needs to be carried on by heroes. And we plan to be heroes. We plan to raise up a generation of young heroes that will save America, that will keep the Republic, La Repubblica. And we will be able to proudly say, long live the Republic, viva la Repubblica.
And one more German reference, but did you know that the name Hugo is a German origin?
Yes, it is.
And you know what it means?
Go ahead, Hugo, tell them.
The brain.
Yes.
I
Well,
tried
here
to
we are then, folks, the brain and the heart of the operations.
I try to tell my wife that, but she just
Well, I'll tell you then what my wife had said is that she said she was very grateful to have my last name because her name is Alyssa Razo, so that's Alyssa, which is asylum, and Razo actually comes from the Basque razón, which is reason.
yes.
So his name is logic and reason, asylum, and mine I'm very grateful for Nickolas Razo, of course reason, but Nickolas means victory of the people. Nika and Olas, and that's exactly what I promised to bring to the people of Senate District 11 in Colorado, a victory that can be remembered
Yep,
for a long, long time.
absolutely. So if I can leave you with one little tidbit, that would be to be forthright, go out and meet the people where they live, go have some coffees in some of the neighborhoods, meet some of the community leaders, and get them on your side. And then get yourself people like Ivy Lou to go out and campaign with you to some of the Asian communities because I think that you've got a good chance in this district. So I'm going to encourage you, and of course we'll be watching, and we'll definitely be trying to help get the word out for you. The website is in the process of getting a little bit revamped, so we'll be able to promote a lot of the candidates that are out there, and we've got the primary now. Quick question: do you have an opponent in the Republican primary?
Yes, we do at present moment. In
Okay,
fact, we have two. And I would encourage everybody to always remember that we are not voting for people based on how much money they have. We're not voting based on how many establishment figures that they can get on their side. We're voting for the person that will be most likely to win over the hearts and minds of the people. And that is what I would suggest to everyone with this limited time that I have, that we should absolutely never forget that politics is about people, not about money.
all right. So you can go to your caucus next week and get that word out. For those of you that are not aware, March the 3rd, Tuesday, is caucus day. So find your caucus, attend it, and participate because that is where you can have your voice heard.
Absolutely. And as I said before, I am Vice Chair of House District 17. If you live in House District 17, we would love to have you as a precinct leader. If you're a registered Republican, it is not too late. And feel free to contact me if you want to be at caucus.
All right. So we're up against the clock. So we're going to give you the last word. We're going to give you a closing statement to the people and go ahead and, deliver whatever message you want to deliver on that.
Thank you, Hugo. And I want to thank all of you for listening tonight. And I just want to take a moment to remember my old friend Charlie Kirk, because I think that he helps us remember this is life or death. We have enemies that want to take our lives, that want to ruin our businesses, that want to slander us and just lie about us and say the worst and most terrible things and do the most worst and terrible things. So when we cast our votes, when we make our support, we have to ask, is this person willing to lay down their life for us? And more importantly, are they willing to live with that pendulum over their head? Folks, I came from Chicago. There's nothing these leftist terrorists can do to scare me. And I promise I'll always be there for you. I promise nothing will scare me off and nothing will make me forget my commitment to you.
All right. And there is the inevitable music. Thank you, Nickolas, for a great interview. And we hope to have you on again. And we'll be watching your campaign. Senate District 11, if you're out there, get out and help Nickolas, because I think
we'd most appreciate it.
He would serve that district well. So we're up against the clock. Thank you all for tuning in tonight, and be on the lookout for some more interviews coming up in the weeks ahead, because we are in the smack dab in the middle of the campaign season, and we want to promote as many candidates as we can. March the 26th, I believe. Is that the date? Yes, March the 26th, we are going to have Priscilla and John Teagan, one running for a House seat and the other running for the mayor of Colorado Springs.
Power couple.
So we're going to give you a double whammy that day. But thank you for tuning in tonight. God bless you. God bless the United States of America, and God bless our president, for sure.
God bless America, and God bless Colorado.
And God bless Colorado. Amen. Good night, folks. We'll see you next time.